Mike, let's talk about these 5 things that men find most attractive in women, because I think women are always wondering that. We're always trying to get into the hearts and minds of men. So, from your perspective, you want to start sharing this juicy stuff?
Yeah. Before we get into that, I want to talk about like what women kind of want in a man, and then we're going to go reverse engineer this thing.
All right.
So I think, from talking to women for 10 years, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but women want this like ultra masculine man that's like super powerful, has this amazing job, takes charge, and is just like hyper masculine and takes care of them. But at the same time, in their perfect world, he also has the ability to almost turn into like one of their girlfriends and have an emotionally available state, be able to have great conversations, support them, be a good listener, make time for them. So like this perfect man is both hyper masculine and then emotionally supportive. Would you agree that that's kind of what a lot of women are looking for?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good description of what a lot of women are looking for. And of course, we have a conundrum there, don't we?
Yes. Those are polar opposites, so that is tough.
Right. Right. I always tell women that with every quality that you might love and admire about a man, you have to also look, and this applies to ourselves as well, you have to kind of look at what the flip side of that coin might be. So if you have a man who's super ambitious, super dedicated to his work, super successful, he may not have the time to play or spend as much time with you or be as emotionally in touch with his feelings if he's just really focused on a goal or a career or something like that. So the same applies for women too. If we have a real strength in one area, we have to look at what the flip side of that might be.
Exactly. And that's the precise reason I brought this up, because then when I talk about what a man wants in a woman, he's looking for a woman with ultra femininity. But he has a polar opposite problem too. A lot of men would love a woman that also has a good career, good education, has achieved things, has gone to a certain status and fulfillment in that side of her life. But that woman, just like we just talked about, is not always going to have this amazing amount of femininity where she's super playful, she leans back, she lets the man take control, because she sometimes in her career has taken control and she's seen herself get all these raises and be in a position of power. And then when she comes into a relationship, she's like, I want to get my hands on this and take charge of this relationship. So what men find most attractive, though, if we had to pick one of those two, of career versus femininity, he's going to want the femininity if he only gets one. So of the 5 most attractive things, a woman that's feminine, that's playful, that can be in the present. Men are notorious when they really like a woman for leaving the present and going into the future. You'll see this when a man really likes you. It's all of a sudden, hey, I want to go on vacation with you. Hey, I have this thing in 6 months I want you to go to. He starts planning. A man becomes a planner when he really likes you. And he's like, oh, I want to buy a house one day with you. I want to do this. But a woman just stays right in that moment. It's like, this is so amazing. I'm having so much fun. And it's so refreshing for him to be in the presence of a woman that keeps him grounded into the moment so that they can just enjoy today, not worrying about tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that can be part of feminine energy, femininity in what you're talking about. I also feel like we all have both sides of the coin in terms of the masculine and feminine, and in certain aspects of our lives, one works better than the other, for perhaps for career and for focused goals and things like that, being more in that goal-oriented, task-oriented kind of mindset works more effectively. What I find, Mike, though, just to kind of add to what you're saying here, is that when a woman is in her more feminine energy, she tends to be more in touch with her feelings, her emotions, her body. And I feel like for a man, that helps him connect in a different way to his feelings, his emotion, his body, rather than just being up here in his head or in his mind or in the logical mind. It allows him to experience life in a little different way, which can be really, really refreshing. Because for any of us, men or women, if we're always wound up tight as a drum in the masculine energy, at a certain point, we're going to feel that. We're going to feel stressed. We're going to feel exhausted. And I think that's especially true for women, but I think it can even happen with men.
I think you're totally right. Like if I look at my relationships and all the male clients I've worked with over the years, when they talk about their male friends, we're not allowed to be emotional. Ever since we were children, no emotion. You get hurt, toughen up, get up, kid. Stop crying. You're a man. But what's refreshing about partnership with a woman, with the right woman, is all of a sudden it's safe. You're allowed to be vulnerable. You're allowed to have emotion. And that's what he's craving. He can't get that with his male friends. A lot of them are not going to be like, yeah, tell me about your feelings. That doesn't happen when you're out having a beer with your guy friends. They don't say that.
Right.
But all of a sudden, when you express yourself, she's there to listen and support you. And that's what he's craving. That's what he's attracted to.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I also feel like there's this polarity. He can feel more in the masculine energy when she's more in the feminine energy, which creates that polarity. And that's one of the distinctions between like a friendship when you're out with the boys. Hey, buddy, how's it going? Boom on the back. And a more romantic kind of connection.
Absolutely. I love that. Well said. That too.
All right. So feminine energy or femininity is one thing that men find most attractive. And we could talk this whole interview about what all that means. There's some other conversations around that on this series, but I do think that it's something to just, play with and dance with, especially because you and I work with a lot of women who have been more in the masculine, pursuing careers out of choice or out of necessity, have had to operate more in their lives in that energy. And while that can work really well in certain aspects of our lives, it doesn't always lend itself as much to romance, especially if you're wanting to be with a more masculine guy, which is where we started today.
Yeah. So the second one is all about making a man feel needed. Now, I've gotten pushback in this in the past. Why do I need to make him feel needed? This is only meant for when you have an amazing man that deserves this. If you've got some loser or some guy that doesn't meet your qualifications, get rid of him. This is not for that. This is all for when you've got a great self-actualized, emotionally available man. You might want to do this. But let's look at this whole dating scenario right now. Everyone needs to take a second and pat themselves on the shoulder. This is the hardest time it has ever been to date in the history of mankind and womankind. Let me explain. 100 years ago, our grandparents or great-grandparents, they were getting together for financial security and to raise a family. A lot of those partnerships were not for love. Also, our grandparents, women were not prevalent in the workforce, especially in high-level careers. So men always had their purpose, which was they need to bring home the money. And these relationships didn't necessarily have to be about love. They could just be companionship. They could be raising a family. Everything is different now. Almost every woman watching this wants to fall in love. Most of the women watching this have amazing careers. And on top of that, when we analyze men, they're confused at their role at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And when we look at the single mom, she's the dad, she's got the career, she's taking care of the children, she's driving Johnny to soccer practice. She's doing everything. So she puts on her masculine hat, she puts on her feminine hat. When a man shows up and wants partnership with her, he's, where do I fit in? So I want to offer an olive branch to these guys and make them feel needed if you're open to it. And so what that looks like can be, maybe they provide you emotional support because you don't need the financial anymore. Maybe when you've had a bad day, they can listen to you now. That can be a skill set that if we train him, he can offer. Like, hey, I'm just going to vent for 10 minutes. Will you listen? Don't solve any problems. Or now that you are in queen mode, allowing him to be your servant and he actually gets value out of it. So not Miss Independent, we're talking about queen mode. Hey, can you help me with my jacket? Hey, can you grab the door for me? Brr, I'm cold. Can you go raise the heat? You'd make me feel so special if you did X. Anyway, you make him feel needed, ask him to do things, stuff that you could have done yourself, because every strong woman here can do most of the stuff themselves. He's doing these tasks, and all you got to do is say thank you. So you're making him feel needed. Then the third equality is having the ability to appreciate and admire him. Does that make sense, Michelle?
Yeah, and I think they kind of go hand in hand, feeling needed and the appreciation, because I think one of the things that is valuable for men when they can see that they can add something to your life that would be a blessing or that would be a joy for you to have, even if you could do it yourself, then what do they get out of that? They get the feeling like they've got something to contribute that's going to make a difference in the life of a woman, even if she's very self-sufficient and independent. And if she's appreciative, if she acknowledges and appreciates that in him, then he's going to feel good. He's going to feel like, wow, I matter. Wow, I make a difference in her life. She appreciates having me in her life, even though she's this amazing, incredible woman.
Absolutely. Now, I've gotten pushback in the past of like, Mike, I could get my own water. Trust me, I get it. I know you can go get your own water. And you're like, I don't want to nag him. This is an opportunity to connect with him. He likes providing you stuff. He was built to be a provider and a protector. So when he gets to do stuff for you, for a woman he cares about, not a woman he doesn't care about, but if he cares about you, the opportunity to get you your water, he's excited about. Now, to make this equitable for him, the appreciation just needs to be slightly better than the task at hand. So if you've asked him to get water and you go, you are such a gentleman, thank you for the water, that appreciation is just a little better than the effort he had to put in. So anytime you ask him for something, the appreciation just has to be a little better. Let's say he does like a 6-hour project on your lawn. Well, your appreciation needs to be a little more grandiose. But as long as you've given him the level of appreciation that's a little higher than the task, he's going to be excited to do tasks for you nonstop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting because as I'm listening to this, and I understand that you are saying sometimes we get pushback when we talk about this. One of the interviews I had with our friend John Gray, he said, use us. Now, when a woman hears use us, we're like, we don't want to be using anybody. But he's basically saying we need to feel useful. And so we feel useful when you use us, when you give us an opportunity to be there for you. That's really what I believe he's saying. So just as a little example, before this interview today, Mike, my laptop was downstairs. I was in a little bit of a hurry getting ready, wanted to get myself a glass of water so that I'd have that if I needed it. And so I asked my husband to bring my laptop up for me from downstairs so that I could be ready for the interview. Now, that's a very simple thing. I certainly could do it myself. But in that moment, I was a little pressed and crunched for time, wanted to be on time. And so that was just something that he can do for me. I say, thank you so much. That helps me. And he gets to feel useful and I get more of my wants and needs met. I think it's a win-win when it's done properly.
I love that. I love our friend John Gray. Like John Gray is the epitome of wanting to be useful. Mm-hmm. This guy has sold millions and millions and millions of books, is a multi-million, maybe even a billionaire. I don't know. But he's got all the money in the world. He's got the most successful career in our industry. And what happens? He shows up for these interviews because he wants to be useful. Men crave being useful. So he doesn't need to do this. He could be retired. He could be sitting on a beach, but that's not what he's craving. He wants to feel useful. So that's why he does these interviews.
Absolutely. And he always, in addition to that, he always shows up in such a really gracious way. Like he has the heart of a servant. So when he's saying, use us because we want to feel useful, he really means it. And I know that word, none of us want to be users, but what he's saying is when a man feels useful, like he's contributing, that makes a difference for him. And I think that's sometimes a subtlety that we as women don't fully understand how meaningful that can be to a man.
Absolutely. Love it.
All right. So where are we at? Are we on that was number 3.
Number 4.
Have femininity, we have needed, we have appreciation. And what's number 4?
Yeah, number 4 is acceptance. And I mean, this one's so beautiful when it happens. So once again, when we're talking about acceptance, this is only reserved for a man that's treating you like a queen and you feel special with, you feel taken care of, and you feel satisfied within the partnership. So if you're feeling wildly satisfied with this man and how he treats you, and you feel good when you're with him, good when you're not with him, just you feel good being in partnership with him. Now, when he starts to do some weird things, and 95% of him you adore, and then the 5% where maybe, he leaves socks somewhere where you don't want socks, or he just does some weird thing that you're just like, what is this? I don't like it. Anyway, you don't make him wrong for it because 95% of him is amazing. And so now you just accept the full version of him because that's what we have to do. We can't accept the 95%. We have to accept the 100%. Now, once he feels that acceptance of the 100%, he's going to want to give you everything. He's going to want to commit to you forever. He's just going to get big eyes because other women in the past, they liked the 95% of him, but they made him wrong for the 5%. And so he didn't feel accepted and thus probably wanted to pull back. He's like, this person doesn't fully like who I am. So if you're able to do that, it's very powerful. It's very rare. And it's going to make him want to really commit to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think so. A couple of things that are coming to mind here, Mike, to just kind of piggyback on what you're saying. I think that this is a very deep need for a lot of men. And again, kind of like we were talking about, he's not necessarily going to get this from his buddies or some of his other relationships. You can literally be, as the woman in a man's life, you can literally be the one really safe place for him to really be vulnerable, to share his hopes, his dreams, his disappointments, what he might consider to be failures, and to be who he is in its entirety. You can be literally the one safe place. And I think we as women want that also in a relationship from a man. And so we have to recognize how important that might be to him. And also, we're potentially bringing out the very best in him in the way that we invite him to be there for us and then appreciate him. And we're also acknowledging that we're not perfect and he's not perfect when we give that kind of acceptance. Because you bring any two people together, there's going to be differences. There's going to be things that you do that probably might drive him crazy and that he might drive you crazy if you let it get under your skin. But this kind of acceptance, we all long for, I think. We all long for that ability to be truly real and truly vulnerable with someone.
Well said, Michelle.
I just think it's a really, really deep gift. It's like you said, to start with, it's really beautiful when that happens in a relationship. I mean, my husband and I have been married now for a little over 15 years. So, we know each other really well. We know each other at our best, at our worst, and everything in between. We know the vulnerable points. We know the sensitive points. And we are careful not to poke each other in those sensitive or vulnerable points. And we show each other grace. And that's one of the reasons our marriage works, because I'm not perfect and he's not perfect.
Mm.
And we allow for that. And with the acceptance of, I love you anyway. I love you because I love you. You leave the socks on the floor. I may not like that, but I still love you. I still accept you.
Well said. I'm going to tell a quick story that it came from Ariel Ford. She told me it many years ago.
Okay.
Anyway, this married couple, I forgot their, let's call them Kate and John. John's like 25 years older than Kate. They've been married a while. John's like probably in his 80s now. So they've been married a while. Every morning he has a poppy seed bagel. And every morning the poppy seeds go on the floor somehow. John's not the neatest. Gets the poppy seeds on the floor. And they just had a rough night. They got in a little bit of a tiff. And then in the morning, she sees the poppy seeds on the floor. And Kate starts going nuts. She's like, oh, the poppy seeds again on the floor. And then she was like about to go find John and give him the business. But she's like, wait a second. I am so grateful for these poppy seeds. If these poppy seeds were not here, that would mean my beloved John is not here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so thankful these poppy seeds are here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I like that story.
I like that story too. It's very sweet, and it's true. When we really love a person and we really give that kind of acceptance, that's a kind of love that I think everyone is longing for on some deep level. That ability to be who we really are, with our vulnerabilities, with our strengths, with what we might consider to be our weaknesses or our soft points. That kind of acceptance is a true gift.
Absolutely. Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Number 5, we made it. All right. Is boundaries. This one is vital. Not only do you have to have boundaries, but we have to take this a step further in the execution. A lot of folks get in trouble with their boundaries because they don't have the proper execution. So it's really twofold. The reason boundaries are so attractive to a man, if you don't have any, he doesn't trust you. Because if you're agreeable on everything, he's like, who the heck actually is this woman? Every time I say something, she's like, that sounds great. How could everything be great? Something must not be great. Not to mention, so on top of that, so now he builds trust because occasionally you say no, or I don't like that. He's like, okay, this is who this person is. I can trust them. The next piece, everything in the man's being is provide, protect, make you happy. Like that's what he wants. When he sees his woman beaming with a smile, he can take credit for that. Even if it has nothing to do with him, he's going to take credit for it. And he doesn't necessarily always know how to make you smile. Even the most attuned man, even a man who does this for a living, I don't freaking know all the time how to make my woman happy. I don't. But when she tells me, hey, I love when you do this. Ooh, that doesn't feel great. Can you redirect? Can you do this? It would feel amazing if you take me on a date. It would feel amazing if you could do this. So when you point him in a direction, now this brings him all the way back to what he's also craving, which was appreciation. You give him an opportunity to earn his appreciation. So we make him feel needed. We say, hey, I would love if you do X. So now he's needed. He's feeling useful in John Gray words. So he does the useful thing. Then you tell him, oh, you're so fantastic, which then brings him to the point of, ooh, she's happy. I've done a good job.
Mm-hmm.
So telling him the boundaries makes him feel needed, appreciated, admired. And then now the execution. If you don't make him wrong for anything, which also is attached to our acceptance, we don't make him wrong for anything. Hey, you never call me. Hey, you never take me on dates anymore. That's not going to feel great. But if you say, hey, we have the most beautiful relationship. You'd make me feel so special if you took me on a date sometime. He's not wrong. The relationship's good. You just want to go on a date. And now you've made it Like he's like, ooh, I'm doing good, but she wants a date. I'm going to plan something good. I'm going to plan a great date. So that's how you execute. You do it in a compliment, state what you need. Maybe you end with another compliment, a compliment sandwich, compliment, boundary, compliment. And now you've executed boundaries like a pro.
Yeah, so the way you're describing boundaries sounds like sharing what you like or what you don't like, and letting a man know how to please you and what doesn't please you, and giving him that opportunity to win with you. And, Mike, because you've been on my events, I do these man panel events where I interview all these male experts. And I can't tell you the number of times men have said to me, please tell the women to tell us what you want, what you need, what would work for you, what would make you happy. And that word happy is really powerful. Let us know, because we want to please you. But if we don't know how, if we don't know what that's going to look like, because it can vary from woman to woman, from personality to personality, then it's harder for us to do that. And so I think this is really, really empowering to both men and women, because again, it can set up that win-win type scenario that you want to have in a great relationship.
Absolutely. John Gray came up, I believe it was John Gray, came up with this amazing phrase: you will make me the happiest woman in the world if you do X, which is such a powerful statement. It's so easy. You will make me the happiest woman in the world if you do X. And I want to really ram this point home about men wanting women to be happy with a quick story. I was on, I think it was like, let's call it my third date with this woman. And I decided I was going to pick her up in New York City and drive her to the beach in Long Island, this nice beach. Anyway, we go to the beach. I bring a soccer ball. We kick the ball around. Then there's a fancy hotel up the beach. We go on the beach, have a drink. We hop in the pool. And then we're walking to my car to leave the beach. Nice little beach day. Anyway, we're walking to my car. And she turns to me. She goes, "This is the best date I've ever been on." And I my neck kind of snaps at her. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, we just went to the beach. This isn't the best date you've ever been on. She goes, "This is the best date I have ever been on." So then I kind of let that digest. I go home, I'm digesting, and that really hit me. Like, she just said she's been on her best date ever. And then I thought about the date. It wasn't anything special, but I was like, if it's this easy to make her happy and she's this happy, I'm going to consider this person for the rest of my life. Like, could this be my forever partner? Because if I've got a woman that I can keep happy, and I feel like I can do that for the next 40 years of my life, that's a partnership I can be successful in. Because I feel like a partnership being successful is when my woman's happy and she's beaming to the world. That reflects on how our partnership is and makes me want to commit to her forever. And in case anyone's wondering, I did get engaged and almost married to this woman. Unfortunately, we had problems and that broke off. But from that moment is when I looked at her as this could be my forever partner. Mm-hmm. So I want women to realize showing him how to make you happy is what makes him want to commit forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really, really powerful. And I really like the things we've talked about today, because even if some of these things are feeling a little foreign or not quite resonating with you, we invite you to just kind of try on some new things, try on some of these ideas and experiment with them a little bit. Because what I believe, Mike, is that sometimes these things that might seem kind of subtle or maybe even kind of insignificant or not that important can make a huge difference in your overall interactions with men. And, even in a long-term relationship, like a marriage, I still do these things with my husband, the things that we've been talking about today, because it's part of what keeps our relationship fresh and romantic and creates some of that polarity. And I believe it creates a win-win scenario in our relationship, and it makes it fun. It's fun. It's fun for me to see him get the joy that he gets from doing things for me, providing something for me, and how much he likes the appreciation. You know, he like puts his shoulders back. He looks all proud of himself. He's walking around the house looking like, I got this. I'm doing good. And you know what? And then I get some of my needs met, and he does nice things for me, and that feels good for me. So that's a nice win-win.
That's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
I was telling a client yesterday, like I teach this stuff, and I tell my partners, like, you know, needed appreciated. Like, let's do it. Like, you tell me what you want, I'm gonna do it. Then you appreciate me. And I know what they're doing. They do it on purpose, which is great. And then they appreciate me. And I still, just like your husband, like shoulders back. I'm like, oh yeah, I did it. I'm a good boyfriend or husband, whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
It still works on me.
Yeah, my husband knows too, because I've shared and talked with him about all this kind of stuff. And, you know, some of the magic phrases that John Gray teaches, you know, that's a good idea, or great job, or hadn't thought of it that way, or whatever. My husband knows I'm using these techniques on him. It still works. He still loves it.
Oh, yeah. We love it.
Yeah, exactly. So this has been really fun. So we invite you to experiment with this, experiment with it with the men in your life, whether you're dating them or not. You can experiment with all different kinds of relationships with men in your life, and it can potentially make all of your relationships more fun and win-win. And it can be especially powerful in those potential romantic relationships. And Mike, I want to thank you, and I want to thank everybody for watching.
Thank you for having me on. So I'm just grateful to be here.
Thank you so much, Mike. And thanks, everybody. We hope to see you for more. Bye-bye for now.